Hello, America. How are you doing today? Hi, America. How are you? I'm Lisa Lucia Arden. I wanted to tell you that I'm so grateful that I'm speaking to you today. I have to say that I had a podcast today and I was excited about it. Today's the National Day of Prayer. We all need to pray, America, and we need to tell ourselves that we have a God watching over us. And even if you don't believe in God, there's facts that God has taken care of us in our America. Many people have had experiences. And one of the most important people in our country is George Washington. Many of you don't even know about his history, but they don't tell us in the schools. But George Washington, he prayed to Jesus in 1776 to help us save America. And only through God's purpose in glory, in direction, can we save America. That's why we're having tension, because God doesn't want our America to be controlled by the elite communists, the international communists, secret communists, the Davos, Davos. And I wanted to say that that's why there's tension even between the people, even the people that don't believe in God, Jesus Christ, the Trinity. There's tension in our country and confusion and problems and injustice because this is God's land. This is God's land. Okay? This land is not Africa, it's not Germany, it's not Italy, even though it's so close to Italy because we have adopted the Western the Western civilization has adopted most of the Italian culture, the Judeo-Christian ethnic culture, in Greco-Roman culture. And so there's something you just can't get away from that. Just like the beautiful purple mountains, correct? That are there in the beautiful California that we have to save. We can't knock those mountains down the only way if there's violence, correct? If there's violence of nuclear, violence of militant tools, then we can knock down and destroy it. But we don't want that. That's the same liken to the people, the heart of America. The heart of America is God's heart, even if you're not a believer, because He gave America's like no other country, to have all people from all nations come and be protected and have new life. And then in the justice of love, really, through our Constitution and Declaration of Independence. I'm singing and I'm so happy and I'm smiling, but I'm very sad. I feel so sad, and many times it shows on my face, and it shows on my makeup, my hair, my nails, the way I live. I'm running to try to protect America in every way I have, even with violence upon me when I speak and when I write and when I try to do my work to deliver the messages. God has told me as a divine message that He loves America. He loves America, but He cannot keep on pouring good on evil. And He is praying to the Father, the God of Abraham, to plead to save us, because we cannot put good on evil, because it doesn't mix, and it makes the good become evil also, because the good could only be good and good enough when it's in God's glory, in God's purpose. But He doesn't want, when you start putting evil on good, you're defining the opposite of truth. So that means we can't keep on feeding. We can't feed the evil. We cannot feed the disjustice. We cannot feed the disjustice of them trying to take over the farmland and the way we eat our foods. We cannot do this. We have to stand up in strength and proof of logic. We have to get those lands back from Gates. When Trump gets in 2024, we need to redo the laws. We can have any agriculture purchased by any communistic nation or communistic people. are people that are from a communist value, because those beautiful Chinese, they're beautiful Americans, okay? And they're my sisters and brothers. But sometimes when you get involved and you touch your hands on something that could be controlled, they can blackmail them. They blackmail them. I know. I heard stories from way back in Mafia from The Godfather. I'm Italian. I'm not from the Mafia, but those are the same stories. They'll blackmail them. We need to be in strength, in love for America. We need to vote freedom. We need to vote leaders in each state, each country, to protect these items in America. The borders, we talked about the borders many times. I said the borders have to be done. I told you from the divine message years ago, before 2016, that China was going to plan a conspiracy in death and even a vision of war in pandemic and disease. I had these visions in these divine messages for years, but the borders I asked to have fixed a long time ago because of the drug trafficking. I had visions of drug trafficking many years ago. These are all in my books. Our Need to Give to the World, Heal America, Loving God, and Arise to God's Truth. Restore and keep America's freedom. We need to see the truth, and many see the truth now. Everything's going backwards to death of the way our government is handling things. When you have one major life, the most important thing in life is children. The children in the womb, and when they come out of the womb, and before that. Before the children is the most important. It's a relationship between the man and the woman and how they respect each other. Because when they respect each other, they're going to respect life throughout each item. But because we don't respect the human way, because we have abortion, it trickles down in every way of our life. It's just the way of human nature. It's human nature. We cannot be blessed by killing the seed of life. This is a divine law, a divine covenant with God. It's a divine covenant with God. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not kill the breath of a life. In Genesis, when a person is created, they're created by the messianic breath. And every time you kill a baby, it's a messianic breath that's killed of life. We cannot kill the children. We need to give the platform for these beautiful girls and women that don't know anybody as part of the culture. We have to love them and teach them. But because science has used abortion for their monetary means in the minds of men of treacherous ideas that are lower than life and not the course of truth, they do that and make an easy platform so they can use the babies as scientific research. And this is proven by the fact of what they do with the babies and monies. And also the very wealthy, the Davos group, they have their own laboratories, and they use those medicines for their own life in their own ways. We have to respect these beautiful young girls. I love them. You know, I could have done the same thing, have abortion if I was part of that culture. So we can't point fingers, but we need to give them a platform. We are not pagans, Egyptian pagans. That's the Egyptian culture. That's the pagan culture where they take their children and sacrifice them. We need to stop this now. Now, I want to say that we need to give them a platform. We need to give them a platform of more billionaires. It was a divine message that the Hilton hotels, the man, the owner, I had a divine message and a feeling of the Hilton Hotel that he needs to give monies to the homes for these children and women to keep their babies. All hotels that make a lot of money, they need to do this. All billionaires, because the Hilton family owns much money. Even though maybe the hotel business has gone down in some ways, they need to keep their babies. That's why I asked, because the mother, Mrs. Paris Hilton, she couldn't get a baby, but now I think she got a baby. And I prayed and asked why, because she's so gorgeous and so beautiful, and she seems to be a very lovely girl, and she's blessed, and she's chosen by God with all her worldly goods. They give a lot of jobs at the Hilton hotels, a lot of work. And I says, why couldn't they have a child? And the Spirit of the Lord told me, because someone needs to protect the innocent babies and the babies in the womb. And all women that are billionaires need to respect the babies in the womb and help the girls along. We're the third highest country that is a domesticized country that kills babies. Okay? That kills the breath of life. If you see and you follow my work, I don't always talk about abortion, but I was told you need to talk about it now. Now they know that you hear, because many people know that I hear. It's proven by my writing. I wrote in 2016. Before that, when Trump came in, I wrote a lot of things that he did now that made great success, and also things that happen now that are not successful for America that Biden did. Biden's government, I was told, if Biden did not follow the covenants that we have, that we are married to truth in God. We're the bridegroom of truth, okay? If he didn't follow that, everything that he did would be terrible and it would ruin our country. It's a written divine message. And it was a written divine message before the votes came in that they were going to do injustice to America. And I didn't know what that exactly meant. But it said that Trump won. It's a divine message I wrote down before Trump was denied his position, before our justice was denied. The worst justice against America. So what I'm saying is that we need to turn back, all of us. We need to go back and we need to vote freedom. And because our country is ran by leaders in government, we have to have a good president. We're not a country like in the old days, where when we first came to America, and we all ran our own lives, and we had bargaining. This person made clothes, the other person gave the milk and the water. It's not that way anymore. We're controlled by so much government powers that and geopolitical powers were controlled. Hence, we need a good father, a good leader that could protect us like he's our father. Do you understand? We need a protector that knows how to deal with geopolitical problems. And I told you, I'm a geopolitical specialist. You can look in my book. I professed and said that there were going to be problems with China in the future before 2016. Now, we need to do this. We need to vote freedom, but we have to do it in peace. But we have so many things going on here. This is planned. This is planned. Many things are planned. But see, God is allowing these things to happen, some of these things to happen, because there's so much evil, and he can't keep on pouring good on evil. We as a people need to vote freedom. We need to vote freedom. We need to get ready for it. We need to all fast for the war. If Trump was in, he would have been able to negotiate, because business, brothers and sisters, we're a business now in America. We don't need a diplomatic to become a socialistic, communistic country that's controlled by the higher powers of corporate power, of corporate censorship, of billionaire censorship, of elitism, of communism. We cannot be controlled by that. We are not born like that, and America wasn't birthed that way. It will die if we keep that way. America was birthed by the Constitution of freedom, freedom of speaking, freedom of life, freedom of justice, freedom to make money, freedom to make choices, not for world control, health world control. That's the worst. I've had more than 20 years of medical business at all different levels, and I sat by the elbow to elbow with the Jorgensen Steel Company, the Jorgensens that were, and scientists from Caltech, and the Jorgensen's had a great steel company in the United States where the kitchen cabinet of Reagan, and arm in arm by scientists, arm in arm by great women leaders that made California beautiful when they had the greatest nonprofits. We need to do that. We need to see arm in arm of truth, arm in arm to keep our legacy, to bring our business, to make fruitful the small businesses. We can do this. It's not hard. We need to take back our manufacturing, especially all the things that China makes. You understand all the things that China makes that's not good for us? We need to get them out of our hair. Of the manufacturing of the pharmaceuticals and things like that that are not good. They can put things in it. We need to protect the borders. Do you know that they don't have a problem with drug issues? Just like President Trump said, he brought that point up. When he asked the question, do you have a drug issue? This is indirect quote. This is not he had a conversation with the Chinese president. And oh no, we don't have a problem with drugs. But you know that the Chinese, they work with the cartels on the borders, and they bring those drugs in phenylphen and kill many, many people. And they said women, mostly women. You know what that's a delivery of? You know what the symbolism of? It's a symbol of trying to make us infertility of our land, to kill our land, our people. That's the same thing they did with the CCP virus. But the CCP virus was an inside job of America. I said that in the beginning, and I got in trouble. I got in big trouble when I said I used to stand out on a private road when I was trying to do my work, a private road, and I spoke, and then I sang, and then the neighbor said, "Okay, you be quiet now." Okay, so okay, I'll be quiet. I used to practice my speeches, and I used to say things to get it out there to help. And that same day they took me in, they had the protesters that Soros hired. See, the first thing, as I told you, Pope the Tent tells us, the first thing that Pope the Tent tells us is that they try to pit each other together. The citizens, they pit together. Just like when someone wants to start trouble with a relationship and they're jealous of something or they want something from that, they pit each other. They try to come in and hurt us. That's what they did. That's why Soros hired so much people indirectly, secret people, and he controls Biden. I already told you. And other people said Obama has. This is a quote from the news that Obama also controls. That's what I heard, even though I heard and prayed about it. But I always check after whether it's true or not. Do you know that we have an elite communist controlling our America on all sides? I know the liberal because I know a lot of liberal people. Remember, I don't, even though I'm trained as a divinity, a minister, and also trained in Catholicism, and I'm a philanthropist for many years, all my life. It's the first thing I do. And I'm independently trained about geopolitical problems, science and philosophy. I've talked about many, many things about the vaccination that shouldn't be in facts and how to help a country. I didn't even know that I was a supply chain economist, understood that because I wasn't trained formally, but I've seen things. I've been around, I've been traveling to the different states. And I noticed the liberal people, it's the way the world is developed. They are God's people. Every humanity is God's people. That's not the point. The point is that we need to bring truth to humanity. Truth. We need to go closer to the truth, and that's God's intention. I can't help it if God, when he made people, he had them come out as a male or female, not as a transgender, not in between. He didn't have them come out that way. And that's the way we need to keep it. We need to keep it a man or a woman. Because once you start trying to change divine nature, then it gives the people that are in power, okay, to use your creative mind in a bad way and propagate it in their own way. Because people that are billionaires, okay, if you don't want to know this, they multiply things, multiply. They want quantity, quantity, quantity. Most of them want just quantity. They don't always look at quality. Are you listening? So whatever they could do to get quantity, quantity, quantity. So if they could use elite communists, if they could use us as humans for their ideas, and clean your ears out, for quantity, 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 and not quality, they'll do. So that's why I don't think the liberals, they don't understand totally the contraindications of voting in, communist elite. And that's what the Democratic Party is now. So we have to realize the transgender has a big effect on our whole America, because we're allowing elite communists, because they're in control of that. They want to control the human body. They want to change everything. Whether you're a woman, whether you have boobs, whether you have fallopian tubes, whether you have anything, it's terrible. It shakens me up. But there's a point here that you do not understand. Just like I don't understand some of your businesses. There's a big point that people are missing. They want to use them as scientific research. That's why they allow abortion, for scientific research. This is very important. We need to tell ourselves that we need to make this illegal, because not just for the because that's what I believe. I think it's the wrong thing, to protect the transgender themselves. They're just going to protect people that are in between and confused. They take these transgender ideas and try to put them in the school that should never be. In the woke system, some of these people don't reach emotional level of their hormones until 18 to 21 years age, puberty. And now with the hormones that are fed in the foods, mentally, it's not good for the people. Their mind and the mental health is not always good because of the foods they eat. I'm so glad I seek to eat pure. And that's why we cannot have farming controlled by synthetic vegetables, synthetic meat, things, and control and preservatives. We need to come together in truth. There's many things I could sit here and talk about, but the pending things are the things in the news, of course. But the way we're going to correct that is to come into truth. We're going to have to trust each other, but we're going to have to trust who? Who would you trust the most that makes the best decisions for the people? It would be a man or woman that cared for the people without any motives. And God doesn't have any motives. When he created people, he created them of love, but because they ate the tree of good and evil, there's always going to be evil, and there is evil. There is evil. People don't think there is not evil. There is. Evil has different levels. It could be the control of the communist elite, controlled by Biden and Putin, because Biden's controlled by the communist elite. Remember when he first started out as president, he couldn't answer the questions very well. Remember? And then he used to have earplug things in, and then he changed over time. Some people think that that may not be Biden. It's a double. They put him as a double. I don't know whether it's true, but I saw like he had a mask on and they poked his neck and it punched in his neck like he had a mask on to look like Biden. That could have been just called AI. I don't know, but Biden had changes over the period of time. You look closely at his communication. But I wanted to tell you, AI is very serious. We have to be very careful. This one man told me, the scientist, he says, AI is going to correct everything, whether we're good or bad. That is not true. But I didn't want to say to him that, because AI does not have a soul. AI does not have a soul. And AI does a lot of beautiful things, but it does not have a soul. And it can't determine the soulful things. It could determine numbers. It could determine the way to have the sentences. And if you have all the data, but you can't get spiritual data. You can't get justice data, because the data that they're going to be getting is the control of the governments of these last year. When they try to use AI for justice, How could they use AI for justice? They use AI to say that we should use all electricity for our energy. No, you in any type of investments, you diversify, and you don't put everything in electricity. We have all gas, oil, okay, that needs to be compressed and carried. But we need the components, the carrier system we need to make. We have special gas that we could sell to Europe, and we need to get on that. We cannot go on pure electricity. We could go on other things. We need to still use oil. Even though they say oil costs more money to drill, we still can't let these go. This is going to hurt many people, many things. So we need to balance it over a period of time. We could maybe use more electricity than we have, but we cannot do this. We need to make a balance of like they say, entrepreneurs are not balanced. And I know I'm an entrepreneur, and I do so many different things at once. But my first job is a volunteer for America, and to speak out and teach myself about these things that need to be fixed in our country. We need to come together in truth. We need to come together in great leadership. So we need to fix the borders right away, because there's nuclear coming in. I remember I told you businesses, they would set up and form. That was a divine message. I said businesses, they'll set up and form and infiltrate and try to control. So they have police stations. Then they're also doing other businesses. Then there's drugs there's drugs in the borders. There's ISIS coming through. There's there's human trafficking in the poor, beautiful immigrants. Some of them are forced to do it. From their own country, they need food and water. They need things that to exist. So they try to come to America because their own country doesn't take care of it. That's why we need to get back to that peace plan, that they remain in Mexico. So Mexico takes care of them, and we work together on it, and that we don't have, catch and release, that we need to bring them back and have a regular legal system to have them come through. Even the other peoples, they agree, that are from their same culture, that they agree that we need to protect the borders, and also we need to build the wall, or have some type of technology that protects the whole wall, because there's some very serious issues, and they say they mostly come in the airplane, but there is a lot, but there's more that come. There could be one person that could ruin a whole state carrying a nuclear bomb. Are you hearing me? Do you understand? In Mexico is building an airlines. They're almost finished with their airlines. Where do they get all that money? They should be taking back the people that go through and help us to protect the immigrant. We need to pray and stop that war in Ukraine if everyone fasts. That's a Holocaust. So we have all these things going on. We have the CCP virus that was an inside job. And Fauci, he's one of the people that instigated it and started it. I told you it was an inside job in the beginning. I got in big trouble for that. Then inside job in China was related to it also, and America. Then we have the vote system that they cheated the people out. The worst thing they did to America for justice, they cheated the lies out for the votes. They didn't let President Trump in when he won. They locked us down. So it ruined the whole economy. So many of the people lost their homes, the middle class, upper middle class, and the lower class. A lot of the lower class has their home paid for. Their home's not worth that much. And they worked for cash. So they paid everything off in cash. I've been to those communities because I did Uber, and I did Uber and I did Lyft when because I was going to law school at the time. And I saw those sweet communities, and they exchange money, and they only buy their food in their own cities, in their own cities, their clothing, all their goods, they only exchange, and that's how they exist. But a lot of the middle class died. And it was taken away, their money and their house and everything, and put to the millionaires and to the billionaires. Okay. And so the lockdowns, we should have had the lockdowns. I discussed that. I wrote a statistic to show Newsom because remember, I've been in medical business for over 20 years and I've studied under the greatest science and philosophers in the world. Because you don't know me like many people don't know me, but the House does, the Congress does, the leaders, they use a lot of my ideas. And actually, there've been a lot of violence, death, and come back to life. Do you know that we need to protect our country? We need to protect our country. We need to protect our country. We cannot have World Health Control. That's one of the worst things you're going to control because they say there's going to be another pandemic. Many beautiful men and women that people believe. And even I heard, and it wasn't AI, that Gates and even Obama said there's going to be another pandemic. We need to start praying, all of us, and we need to make sure we have our food. Our food has to be corrected. We need to make our food in our own home and our own lands. We have to get our farming back, and we need to buy back all our farms. There's got to be a good billionaire that starts buying back these farms, and there has to be a new law that the farms are taken away from the people that are communists that are trying to change the way the food is made. There has to be a new law. That's how you could solve that. If you say that you cannot make food that is synthetic, then you could demand control. Do you know it says in the verse, and even the Jews believe this, you use the enemy as your footstool. It comes back to them. When I get a lot of pressure, because I go in different places in different cities to bring the light of truth and clearing and praying, I feel pressure. And sometimes I think it goes back to them. There's a prayer. There's actually an African prayer of a man that's a minister, Christian minister. And he says, go back to the sender, go back to the sender. Because then the sender will wake up. Oh my gosh, this doesn't work, correct? Go back to the sender, go back to the sender. It's a famous African Christian man. Because remember, we're globalized now, so we don't understand all the pressures, all the witchcraft, all the things. And do you know that witchcraft is just a word. Witch, they don't like to use that word, but that's like a mason. And masonry is in high levels. I'll never forget this Italian man that I love as a friend so much. He says, Lisa, you have to be very careful because there's different levels of masons. I didn't realize that. That was years ago in 2010 and 12. And I prayed to ask God, help me to understand this. So there's a spiritual war. Not only there's a war out in the world between all the countries, in a war between the government and the people, there's a war, a spiritual war. They don't talk about this because it's not politically right, and you do need to separate in some way government and religion. But government should always have the foundation of justice. So that's why people are saying, oh, God, this, God, that, because the foundation is evil. That's what Reagan told us, not just me, that communism is evil. Do you hear me? Now we need to grab on truth. We need to grab on the scepter of truth. People always try to go like this to me because I seek to hold, and I hold the light of God's truth. That's what they say. You hold the light of God's truth. That's what they say. And who are they? That's the promise, the covenant that we have with God. We hold the light of God's truth. We hold this. And even people that don't want to accept God as their Lord and Savior, or don't want to accept God as the creator and the controller, he uses them. And it's most beautiful when you see that they want to do well, and that shows their heart. They want to do well, but they may not believe in God. But you're not going to be able to knock the prophet down, the believer prophet down. You're not going to be able to hurt us because you might be able to do things to us. and our physical body and our property and our ideas. But you're not going to hurt our soul. You'll never hurt our soul. Never. And you will see God coming back, Jesus coming back. That's what this is our culture, what we believe. And the Jews, many people don't know about Christian culture. The Jews are waiting for their Messiah, and the Messiah is Jesus Christ, but they're waiting for their Messiah, and he's watching over us, all the angels and everything. It's just not me. There's been a lot of apparitions, a lot of prayers that heard. And there's also the Bible that has history that's coming to pass. But all leaders in America have always been Christian men, okay? Or women. They've always had the foundation of Christian men and women. I was so shocked when I took law and when I take law that it's based on the Bible. A lot of it's based on the Bible. We can't get away from it. That's why we cannot mix things with our country that is elite communist. We have to come back to the natural way of truth. We need to clean our ears out, and we need to bring the truth of life. Because otherwise, if we continue to do these different masonry levels, Masons of the elite powerful, they use ideas and mind control and technology and controlling of food. We need to close the borders right away. We need to watch over all businesses. We need to have the greatest military, which we do. We need to protect our geopolitical issues. We need to have allies and friends like McCarthy did when he went to Israel. We need to have a good president, that all the things that President Trump did. Do you know that he had the most jobs for the immigrants, the Mexicans and the immigrants than any other nation? In any other place in the whole time of our existence of America, he gave the most jobs. But on the other hand, he used good sense, correct? He protected the borders. He had a plan with Mexico, because we need to work together. You can't do things just by yourself. One country, you have to work with the bordering countries. Plus, he protected the borders. He had when they tried to pass the borders, they had to be turned back or questioned, or saying what are the process of legal citizenship, or they were held and remained in Mexico. But then on the other hand, remember, he gave a lot of jobs to the immigrants that were there. And he's trying to protect also the immigration of what was already there when he got there. And he didn't build those cages. Obama did. Those small cages with the children. He did not build those cages. He got in trouble for it. Okay? And the reason why they put those children in there, because they want to start all this trouble for him while he was president, but also because they want their children to be American citizens. And they left the children there. What happened to all those children that were immigrants on the buses? We have to be very careful that they secretly took from the border, from those cages. Where did they put them all to? After when Biden got in, all the children on the borders. I know when President Trump, and he had everyone meet together, okay? And he did a lot of good things to protect the children. And he was the first one to develop with him and his wife, the president's wife, the first lady, Mrs. Trump. She was the first president's wife to think about the drug issue. They put over thousands and thousands of dollars to protect the drug and alcohol issue because they knew. He also went in, President Trump, and Miss President, the First Lady. She's elegant from inside and out, an angel of God. She made sure about the borders, about the children, and about the human trafficking. They put so much money in the human trafficking of men and women, and secretly they went and they protected these groups of women that were used as prostitution in a ring. They did a lot of things that people don't know. Um, they are very beautiful people. No one is perfect. I'm from a family that's not perfect. I was married into a family that's not perfect either. No one's perfect. And I'll never forget my philosophy teacher told me anybody that has great responsibility, there's going to be more apt for mistakes. And especially if they're oppressed or suppressed, there's going to be more mistakes. But President Trump only tried to help our country. We were in the greatest economy then. We didn't have any wars. He protected us from ISIS. We were able, the first president that put tariffs on the incoming manufacturing from China. And I talked about that in 2014. That was indirectly what I talked about. We need to keep America strong and not allow other countries to take advantage of her and give our country fair business and start with the small and large businesses. He did a lot of beautiful things and less deregulation. He was mining the oil. There's just countless things he did for our country. Our economy was much better. And the CCP virus he had under control. And he did the best he could, with under the situation. And they try to talk and laugh at him and say what he thought that it should be done. Remember, he has a good team, and all presidents have strengths. And his greatest strength is the strength of keeping America free. And that's the way we need to get back to America. But we only could do it in the strength and truth of God. When we try to do it on our own, and this is just not me, when we try to do it on our own, we will not achieve. We'll be taken over by the elite communists because we can't do this on our own. We are like the Israelites. I got in trouble for this. I got in trouble on Lincoln. And so now they allow things on Lincoln. I noticed they allow McCarthy on there, the speeches, which is beautiful. But I got topped off on Lincoln because I won an argument. I'll repeat that I said that we are like the Israelites, okay, where we have to get away from the slavery of the elite communist control our America and the world that are together in cahoots. And I'm like a Moses. You're supposed to be like a Moses to make sure the Israelites, the people, could walk through easily by the faith of God, that we could walk through the Red Sea and go through and go to the land of manna, the land, our promised land. And we could get this back. We could get this back, and we're going to do it. We are going to do it. And I know the liberal. Even I sit with them next to them that even do craft. They're starting to think, because remember, I'm very analytical. Okay, that's one of my things. I'm very analytical. Even the ones that they're all at my side. I'm in a place in Pasadena area, and I'm living in a place where they're mostly are liberal. And they're starting to think now about this. Because now they're trying to control the food. And a lot of the liberal are very like New Age. They want perfect food, perfect life. They want good air. They want their own ideas. They want to be able to use their money in their own way. They're trying to make a Biden dollar and control the banks to watch every move you make and how much money you can spend and what you can't spend. This is very serious. I told you that in my first page of Arise to God's Truth, my book. It talks about this. Arise to God's Truth. It talks about the things that they were going to do to us. And I wrote this book before 2020. And that's why this lady, I said, oh, can I speak at your bookstore? She says, no, you have to have a book that's written in 2023. But I didn't I didn't have time to write it because they kept on using abuse on me. Abuse and violence and conspiracy. But we need to keep peace. Peace is the essence of the life of happiness, the well-being to the people in being human. Peace is the protection of the people, whether you're liberal, transgender, whether you're gay. It's the first thing. Peace is the protection of people first. I will never forget this vision. I saw women and men running through the streets. Their faces were shocked and fear, and the environment filled with a thick chemical poison. And the children were screaming at the top of their lungs. And for unforgettable scream of the children that know God's truth echoed in my heart. The children understands God's truth can only save us. Earthly peace is the image and fruit of the peace of Christ. The messianic Prince of Peace is the blood of Christ, of his cross, his own person. He was was he gave his life for our life so we could have new life. He reconciled us in his person. He killed the hostility of life because he killed sin. He reconciled men with God and made his church the sacrament of unity of the human race and of its union with God, like President Washington tells us that he came into unity with God and the people to deliver the safety and peace in America so we wouldn't be slaves of the British. That's the same thing right now. We together, myself, tell you, like a President George Washington, in unity in the human race, in the power and strength of God, through the blood of Christ, giving us the sanctification and power of truth and righteousness to make decisions that we are in union with God and the people to overcome the evils of the world, the hostility of the world. See, God's truth and righteousness kills the hostility of the world. And God's truth and righteousness is the blood of Jesus Christ. He died on the cross for the sins. So men and women and all humanity and creatures will have new life and be righteous because they ate the tree of knowledge, good and evil. And even the Jews, that's why they did the sanctification of the first fruits of the lamb. They sacrificed the lamb so they could clean all that they have, their selves. They could clean the sins. They could clean their land, their creatures, everything. They Jews still do this. They do a sacrifice of the lamb to make things pure. But Jesus Christ only did this once. He only died once for us, and now he is resurrected in heaven and he sent down the Spirit. And it's just not me. This is just not a story. These are facts that have come to truth. In the relationship with God and his people still lives. I'll never forget my beautiful teacher. He's a bishop now in from Rome at the Pontificate St. Thomas Aquino. When Pope Benedicto, he was my teacher, and he says the way that we could tell the people that God still lives is the relationship with God and his people still live today. People still have experiences. Church is still living. And the words have life. The word became flesh. That's why we need to teach beautiful ethics, because the word is closest to the strongest pure ethics. And the Holy Scriptures, they're this book. It's the relationship with God and his people. It's relationship with God and his people throughout the centuries, and how people dealt with sin, dealt with life, everyday life. All the stories still apply today. But there's also revelations, what's going to happen, in the future, and what's happening actually now. So this is what our country is based on, whether I'm a believer or not. And it says you have to keep the word around your neck like a chain around your neck. You need to keep the word of God's word, or like a necklace around your neck, meaning because you need to be protected, because that's what they say. Satan and the elitists try to get us around the neck and control us. It's a symbolism, but it says in the Bible that they will get the remnant, the believers will try to get them around the neck to control them. And that's even people that don't profess fully Christ, because they're searching for him in their goodness. But we can't be saved by our goodness. It's only by the grace of God. The grace of God, we're saved. It's not by how much works we do. It's by accepting him, to come to him and delivering our life to him and our sin and being washed away by his blood. a pure life because he gave us new life in through his resurrection, and then he sends down the Holy Spirit. And that's what President George Washington was actually doing when he was praying. You see that picture that he has. I don't have it in front of me, but look online. In 1776, in December, he was praying in the snow. It was very cold, and he was standing praying by a horse. A painter must have taken that and seen that, and or someone told them that what he was doing. And so then he was praying, but he was praying that the blood of Christ, because he mentioned Jesus Christ would wash away the sins of our America and come in redemption through the power of the Trinity of God of Abraham, through the Holy Spirit and the mystery of the covenant, because we have a covenant in America with God that when we seek righteousness and forgiveness, that he'll take care of us. And it's also similar covenant of the Jewish covenant of Yahweh and many other, even Muslims covenant. They have to follow through on things. I know they have the very, the ISIS, the Muslims that are very, very violent, but there's also Muslims that are very in peace. We are a bride. We're a bride of the Lord, whether you're a man or a woman. And even the humanity doesn't realize you're a bride of the Lord. He takes care of you. He takes care of you. He has an intimate relationship, but it's spiritual. Even the ones that don't believe, because he created you. You have a breath in him. You know, in him you have a breath. He's holding you in his sacred heart. That's how you stay existing. You know, that's why he can't keep on pouring the beauty of life on the evil people that he created, because they'll get evil in it, because they'll use good for evil. He sometimes accommodates to a certain extent, and then he stops. No matter what you do. That's why I came and I said, everybody better wake up, because I've seen burning. I've heard the word burn. And I said, why are you telling me that? The word burn. And there's different ways. Some of the people will burn. People say there's hell, burn in hell, but their life will burn, meaning that when they die, they go to the place where they do, with the things they do on earth. It makes me swallow deeply because it's scary. Because recently I heard that where I'm living now, because there's a big tension and there's problems. But I'm very concerned, because even the philosophers believed before Christ that what you do on earth now, you go to those people, you go to that group. But as the Lord tells us, it's in the word that we cannot be provoked. When you're provoked, and you cause someone to sin, cause someone to fall, that's the worst thing that you could do. The worst thing, when you fall, make someone fall because of your conspiracy or what you did, whether it's economically, whether it's spiritually, whether it's relationship, if you cause that is the worst thing you could do. And this is what's going on now. The elite communists are allowing the people to fall. They're losing many things. There's a lot of divorce. There's a lot of children problems. There's a lot of problems with the transgender. They're causing problems with that. With allowing that. We can't allow other children to fall because we want to take the lesser truth. We need to be in kindness and sweetness. We need to reconcile men and God, and made his church the sacrament of unity of the human race, of its union with God. There's more to it. We are peace warriors. Peace is when all is working toward the inner, intuitive, godly soul within the person to bring a life that demonstrates and lives by peace. We are peace warriors. Peace warriors.